Ask the Podcast Coach for August 16th, 2025.
Let's get ready to podcast.
There it is. It's that music that means it's Saturday morning. It's time for Ask the Podcast Coach, where you get your podcast questions answered live. I'm Dave Jackson from theschoolofpodcasting.com, and joining me right over there is the one and only Jim Cullison from theaverageguy.tv. Jim, how's it going, buddy?
Greetings, Dave. Happy Saturday morning to you. As soon as we started, I got a little crackly sound. It just ended now. Were you doing anything different? Did you turn anything up? Oh.
No, it's I did upgrade a bunch of stuff today. I upgraded the Rodecaster, and it kind of broke it for a second. That's a fun way to start.
In pre-show, when you and I were talking, I heard nothing. But now that we've started the show, when you talk, I hear some crackling behind. They do. The chat room is hearing it as well. What would be different? Did you start a recording? I did start a recording. Yeah, we are definitely
unplug and recub well, if I do that, I did that earlier. That was the thing.
It's only happening. We can't keep going with it because it's super distracting.
So I'm going to unplug my microphone.
Yeah, let's try that. Could be.
And plug it back in?
No,
better?
It's still crackling. Yeah, the crackling stopped on the mic.
All right. We could reboot the Rodecaster.
Let's give it a try.
Okay, I won't be able to say anything for a bit.
That's fine. I'll keep everybody.
I will stop my recording. Oh,
I'm assuming, chat room, you're not hearing that from me, right? I'm assuming that's the.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna reboot. All right. I will.
Okay. We'll see you in a minute. It'll be fine. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Turn off.
We'll restart the show here when we get this all back up and running. I'm assuming you guys aren't hearing that from me, right? It was really weird because Dave and I talked for 15 minutes without having any of those issues. I didn't hear it. And then as soon as we went live, it started crackling. In fact, it was as soon as he started playing the music. So maybe I wonder if there's a music thing that kicked off something that made it, that made it work. Appreciate you guys giving us the feedback on it. Always good to hear. That's not something I'm going to let go. I did a podcast yesterday where I don't know, yesterday, you ever have these days when no matter what you touch, it just doesn't work? And yesterday, that was that day for me. No matter what I did, it failed. It was a disastrous day. I went to bed early. I was so discouraged by the end of the day. We had that problem, and I wrapped up that one early. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually save that one. I think we were having some bandwidth issues. I think StreamYard might have been having some bandwidth issues. I was seeing some, like LinkedIn was having issues yesterday. So it was a challenge, but it was one of those kinds of things like, maybe we ought to just wrap this up and call it good. I'll check the recordings on Tuesday when I get back in. I'm taking Monday off, but Dave's powering back up. We'll get you here again. If you're just joining us, Dave had some audio issues. We're making sure he's all set up. He's gonna.
How about now?
Nope. Oh, okay. There's
Better?
a smidge delay in you. Hold on. It may fix itself. Count to 5 for me.
I might have to leave and come back or something, or count to 5. 1, 2, 3. But do I sound better?
Yeah, your sound is fine. I think let's see if the video catches up. Look at me real quick. Again, Look at the screen. Then count to 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're golden. That's good. Yeah. Test the music really quick. Let's make sure.
Let's get ready to podcast.
Say something.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get ready to podcast.
There it is, the second intro of your favorite show that does the thing with the thing. It was so weird. It was demon possessed. I unplugged it.
Yeah.
And a thing came up on the screen and said, "We're still getting weirdness."
No, the crackling's gone. You are out of sync, though.
I'm out of sync.
You want to jump out and jump back in?
I don't know if I know how to jump in on Ecamm. Can I?
Can you refresh your? Well, will that kick us off YouTube?
Probably. It'll just be like a bad Japanese movie.
It'll be that way for the whole. Yeah.
Godzilla. Yeah.
No, it's back again. So maybe
the
it's
crackling?
the music. No, the
out of
you're in
syncness.
sync. No, you're in sync again. So I think maybe.
Okay.
Let's go with it.
Let's go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
it was so weird. I unplugged it, and this thing came up on the screen that said, "This power supply does not provide sufficient power." And I'm like, "But I unplugged you. How is that screen showing when you have no electricity going to it?" And I was like, "That's weird." So I then unplugged every kind of USB device and plugged it back in.
Yeah.
Justin's saying, yeah, we're back. So, all right.
Okay.
So as Rich says, it's okay. Just keep going. Yeah.
No,
right.
it wasn't okay. So I'm glad we stopped. But let's restart.
Yeah. Let's just do that. And then I'll cut this whole thing out, which, by the way, takes forever, because I was going to do that last week and I just realized I didn't, because you go to YouTube like 3 hours after you did it and you still can't edit it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? So, all right, here we go. Ask the Podcast Coach for August 16th, 2025.
Let's get ready to podcast.
There it is. That's the music. That means it's Saturday. It's time for Ask the Podcast Coach, where you get your podcast questions answered live. I'm Dave Jackson from theschoolofpodcasting.com, and joining me right over there is the one and only Jim Cullison from theaverageguy.tv. Jim, how's it going, buddy?
Greetings, Dave. Happy Saturday morning to you. Happy Saturday repeat.
Yes.
We made it, though. We're here.
Yes.
We
Nothing
didn't
more
have to
fun.
do the whole show. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing more fun than technical difficulties to start off a Saturday morning, but
it happens. It happens.
Yeah. On the other hand, you learn how to roll with the punches, and that's a good thing. And it just dawned on me, which is good, that I hadn't pressed record on the Roadcaster because I didn't have the Call Me thing set up, but now it is. So that's
I have
good.
to admit, I have to admit, I do not stop enough on, like, when recordings are not good. Sometimes I'm like, oh, let's just power through it. It'll be fine. It'll fix itself. Yeah. And those things, that's wishful thinking. That never happens. I need to stop more often and just say, let's fix this thing. And I just think I'm just bad at it. And so this morning we were like, okay, no, let's get it right.
Let's get it right.
Sound a million times better. So
glad. Excellent. Well, now that things are calmed down, to get us back on track, nothing beats a piping hot cup of Java, and that is brought to you by our good friend Mark over at podcastbranding.co, because look, they're going to see you before they hear you or watch you or whatever you're doing, and you need that really good first impression, and that's what Mark is going to deliver. He's done a ton of my artwork, but it's not just artwork. Hey, if you need a whole website, then simply go over to podcastbranding.co, talk to Mark. He's going to sit down with you one-on-one and use his insane number of years in marketing. And he's a podcaster as well. He's been podcasting since 2013. And he's going to sit down and design something specifically for you. This is not some generic Canva, template. No, he's going to make this specifically for you. And people are going to go, wow, that looks like a professional did it. And the reason for that is a professional did it. And let him use his marketing expertise, not yours. That's not your jam. Your jam is podcasting. So let Mark handle it over at podcastbranding.co. Tell him Dave and Jim sent you.
Take me home.
I like that line. Tell him a professional did it, unlike us. In getting started here. Hey, big thanks to our good friend Dan Lefebvre over there, based on a true story, based on truestorypodcast.com. This week, again, Trail of Vengeance. If you haven't checked that out, Rob Hillard is the guest over there. Good idea just to go over and see how Dan does his podcast. He does a great job of both editing and producing and working with it. And it's great with the guests. It'd be a good listen if you need something new to listen to this week. Check it out today. Based on a true story at basedonatruestorypodcast.com. And Dan, thanks for your sponsorship.
Yeah. And the thing I like about Dan's a great example of how many movie shows are there out there? Like, there's a bazillion. But Dan was like, wait a minute, how can I make my show different? And so he went for hey, this is supposed to be based on a true story. He brings on an expert. And consequently, there aren't many shows like Dan's. There are plenty of people doing movie shows that are like, what do you think? Oh, I thought it sucked. I thought it was good. Oh, you're an idiot. Like, okay, great. But how do I set my podcast apart? So John Jamingo has a question. He goes, hey, does Ecamm have a behind-the-scene producer who is off camera? Yeah, there is. I don't know what it's called, and I've never used it, but I believe there's a way that what you would do is you would have Ecamm as a producer. You set up all the scenes, and then you bring people in, and then you're the person that's going, oh, let's switch to that view, and let's switch to this view, and that whole 9 yards, which would make it easy for editing later. I have both sides of a conversation that I did with Justin Moore of the Sponsor Magnet book, and I need to throw it into Descript, and I'm assuming that there's some sort of robot, underlord, whatever they're calling it this week, to go, hey, take these two sides, and when Justin shows, put him on the screen, and when I talk, instead of just having the typical Zoom kind of look. And I've not figured that out yet because Descript drives me. I love Descript. I use it here for Ask the Podcast Coach, but I don't use it enough to where I know it. So it's not a Descript problem. It's Dave doesn't want to take the time to read the manual. How very, male of me to do that. Yeah, Christopher says, I would love to try to produce the show from behind the scenes. We'll just get Ecamm and because I know there is an easy way for me to send you all the template thingies and things like that. So if I had somebody else that was flagging, that's the one thing that it doesn't do. Jim can't see like that I flagged John's question. He can see the things. Yeah. Here comes one of my Ecamm people. The Ecamm virtual producer runs the app from the computer and brings the participants in as guests. It's not like a browser-based streaming software in that respect. Yeah, you got to have the person, the producer is the person that has Ecamm at home. So, and speaking of joining as a guest, if you'd like to, at the top, it says askthepodcastcoach.com/question. You can jump into the video as soon as I start a Zoom thing going on here in the behind the scenes, or you can use the fun call me feature thingy there. Now, if you do that, if you've ever listened to the radio where people are screaming, turn down your speakers, yeah, you're going to have to do that because you're listening on the browser and we're about 20 seconds ahead of you. And no, I don't know what the lottery numbers are, so I can't predict the future that well. But
that'd be great if you could, though, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome. So
yeah, I always tell my friends a couple times a month we do conference calls with our friends in Australia, and I always tell them keep the future safe for us. Because they live in the future.
Well, Tanner says in terms of Descript, it's called Auto Multicam. Thank you. I knew somebody would know that. Cliff has a question for me. He says, if I do more than one podcast, should I put them on the same YouTube channel just under a different playlist? That's a question right there.
This is the eternal question. Yes. Yeah, this is... Yeah, what do you think, Dave?
Well, I used to have Ask the Podcast Coach on Ask the Podcast Coach's YouTube channel, and then it just everybody already had an audience. And because the School of Podcasting and Ask the Podcast Coach are basically both talking about podcasting, I was like, let's make it easy for people. And so, yeah, Ask the Podcast Coach is a playlist on the School of Podcasting. But it is weird because Ask the Podcast Coach is 90 minutes. And all my other stuff is like 5. Like I just did I know this is going to shock you, Jim. I did an episode about how YouTube is not a podcast. I know. From Dave Jackson. Holy cow. And was, I think, and that was kind of longer. It was like 10 minutes. But what say you, Jim Cullison?
Yeah, it hugely depends, right? I mean, it kind of matters where your audience is expecting you, And I don't think there's a clear cut like, oh, this is the right way to do it. I've seen it done successfully and unsuccessfully both ways, right? Of maybe taking long form content and then you start adding short form different content or even short form same content into the same channel. And depending on how you've been, or depending on how long you've been around and what your audience is expecting, some of them, by the way, you may split your audience. Some of them are like, oh, this is great having this new all in the same channel. Some of them like, that's not what I subscribed for, and then they'll bail out, right? So depending on what you have and what you do and how it works, I would personally try it a couple times before I commit to it. So if I had extra content, I would put it in the same channel to start with and ask the audience, is this what you're expecting here? Are you going to unsubscribe if I continue to do this? And if they say yes, and you're worried about the numbers, you start a second channel. Colin Furze, who's super popular. He's a UK podcaster, super popular. He's building an underground bunker, and this bunker is probably, it sounds too weird, but it's a very weird project. He's actually taking a car. He's going to have a car lift, be able to pull his car in his driveway, and it will sink down into this underground bunker kind of thing. How he got away with it in his township, I don't know. But anyways, he had a whole bunch of content, and that it was taking him forever to get his videos out on his main channel. And so he started putting less edited content out on a Colin 2 channel on YouTube. That thing got just as popular as the first channel did. And there were some folks who liked that better than even the edited content, because it was taking them so long to get the edited content out. So I've seen that work. I've also seen a couple of whiskey guys that I listen to monkeyed around with their YouTube channel, and then actually was doing the podcast live on StreamYard and was putting that live to YouTube as well. And then said, well, too many people are coming to YouTube and we want to bump up our podcast. We really want them to listen to it as a podcast. So they took it off YouTube, and there was a revolt. Like, they were like, you put that content back on YouTube right now. They ended up doing it, right? But I think it's a big chance to really measure your audience participation and ask them, where are you consuming this and how are you consuming it? I'm a big believer in more ways are better than less. And so I'd get it wherever the audience wants to listen to, I'd put it there.
Yeah, Rich Graham says, same audience, same channel, different audience, different channel. The other thing you have to be careful of is you don't want to make it too hard to find you. And I have a classic example that the people I talk to are kind of like, what is the deal? And that is our good friends at the NFL. It used to be you would find the NFL on, ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox. And for the longest time, it was the NFL on Fox, right? And now it's, except on Thursdays when it's on Prime, and then on Monday it's on ESPN, but maybe it might be over, and like, wait, what? And so you miss the first quarter trying to figure out where the game is. I'm like, so that's all in the name of greed. Yes. Ralph says, it's basically it. I have 3 shows. I set up separate channels for each because it would seem that YouTube promotes them better. Just be sure to create them as a brand channel. Yeah, I forget who Ralph found. It might have been Kevin Schmidlin, whose name isn't Schmidlin anymore, but it's so fun to say Schmidlin, I just can't stop. Kevin Michael has Grow the Show. And his show, he built a channel about talking about podcasting, and then he tried to expand his brand beyond podcasting and started talking about using podcasting for your business. And according to Kevin, YouTube was like, your audience is looking for podcasting stuff. So it just didn't do as well, because apparently it sends it to your subscribers first. And if your subscribers are like, oh, well, this isn't about podcasting. So when it didn't pass the subscriber test, YouTube was like, well, we're not sending it out to the general public. So I believe he is undoing he's coming back to grow the show. He still might talk a little outside of podcasting, but I had a feeling, because that was a really strong brand. And when he announced he was dumping that brand, I'm like, I'll take it. If you don't want it, I'll take it. So keep that in mind. Let's see. The other question, yes, Cliff says, thanks so much. Always happy to do that. And again, if you want to jump into the call and not ask things via chat, which is fine, whatever, you be you, askthepodcastcoach.com/question. But Jim, have you ever heard? It's a young independent artist now. I guess she's on a record label. Her name is it's something like Mailer or something. Mailer
Mm.
Piff. Oh, I know. It's Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah,
And and
no,
and
still not the yeah.
apparently she was on a podcast. A
Really?
podcast. Well, I guess they're on.
This week? I saw
Yeah,
nothing on social. Really, this week?
but
All right.
there was one line that jumped out at me that I was like, oh, I'm gonna clip that, and it was this one.
I'm in the business of human emotion.
And I think she's a brilliant business person, and she knows what she's good at. And she's like, okay, talk about not straying from your key topic. I'll be interested to see what her new album is about, because they really make it sound like it's not, here's 12 more breakup songs from Taylor Swift. Even though the thing that got me, I'm kind of a fan now. I watch her music has definitely got the hooks in it. And the other thing I didn't realize, she's kind of funny. She's got a good sense of humor, makes fun of herself. And yeah, Uncle Mars says, is that the girl that made Travis Kelce famous? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
He was mildly famous before, but there is no doubt the world knows Travis Kelce now.
Yeah. Tim says, is Zencaster a good all-in-one option for budget-conscious clients? Ooh, that's a great question. Here's the thing. Zencaster, Riverside, which I'm diving into a little more than I used to, and really Squadcast. These are the three that always, if you go into Reddit and search for Zencaster, you're going to have somebody recommending it as the best thing since sliced bread. You're going to have three people saying, oh, you should never use it. It's awful. It's crap. I will always have a weird taste in my mouth because when Zencaster launched, the founder was at Podcast Movement, absolutely almost can't stand up drunk. And I was like, this is the impression. Like, nothing wrong with getting drunk. You be you. But it was just weird that he was like just blotto. And I was like, okay. But, first time in America, maybe. I don't know what was going on. But all of those we've talked about this before, where they all go through, and Descript's another one, that, everybody loves it, but it doesn't do this one thing. So they introduce this new feature, and everybody hates it because they introduced bugs. And everybody hates it, and then the developers fix the bug, and it comes back up to, hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and I just wish it did this one thing. And then we're back to, and I think they all go through that cycle. So is it bad?
Yeah.
Chris from castahead.net says, he's never worked properly for me. It's buggy. I have at least 5 other streaming services I recommend above it. Yeah. Jimmy,
They got a 14-day free trial if you want to give it a shot. It's $25 $25 a month, the right price for a budget. So I think you have to ask those questions. I'd give it a try, right?
Yeah, John says they have a drift like trash in a windstorm. Okay, that's a bummer. That's no fun.
That was early. That was early on. It would be interesting to know if they did get that fixed. Early on, they had a little bit of that.
Yeah, the Daniel says, who had a bigger audience in their podcast debut, President Barack Obama or Taylor Swift? I don't know, because Megaphone has dropped a very large ball here and not put out any stats. Like, hey, here's how many downloads they got in the first 24 hours. That would be great to see, but Megaphone didn't. So unfortunately, everybody's talking about YouTube, and, then you have Dave over here screaming YouTube's not a podcast. But but my point of that was, so Taylor Swift is like, I'm in the emotions business, and there was a interesting, where did my link go? There was an article came out in the Hollywood Reporter, and man, is that website a piece of crap. I went over, it was nothing but Pepsi ads. And I was like, is this what like journalism is now? Just giant things. But they were talking about, and I pinned this article and it has run away from me. Here we go. Are podcasters lying about their stats? And I will put a link to this article in the chat room and later in the show notes. But what was interesting about it is, and this is, again, comparing this to Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is all about making personal connections with her audience. And if I can get all the little windows to go where I want them to go, Bill Simmons said this: head of strategy talk at Spotify and a popular podcast host called it out as one of the biggest challenges because they were saying, hey, are people lying about their stats? And I've said, hey, from my experience of working at Libsyn, yes, they are. The biggest challenges facing podcasting, I'd say some of the bigger shows lying publicly about their deals, lying about their podcast numbers, and lying about their YouTube subs because apparently they're paying for subscribers, which to me, the only reason you want more subscribers and more downloads is if you have ads. So this is where the people that are making money solely on advertising need more of those, and they don't care if they're from Singapore or wherever. I can't believe how many people are dishonest about this stuff, Timmons tells The Hollywood Reporter. And then in a previous part of it, I just had to clip this. Meanwhile, YouTube, which is the most popular podcasting platform, launched its own top podcast charts in May. And they go into how the chart, like Apple charts, are not like the most downloaded. It's the most, the show that's had the most number of new followers, that has people clicking play. And then also, and this is my favorite part of their algorithm, how far people are listening. That's part of the Apple. So I really like Apple charts. And there's a guy over there from, I forget the one, there's a measuring service, and they use, I think, maybe it is PodTrack. But that's the fun thing, is that's by participation only. I want to say it's not Trinity, Trip is something, I don't know, starts with, there's a T or an I in there somewhere. But anyway, once again, we cannot, get the truth. But I just thought it was funny that you have some people who are buying downloads to get a bigger audience. And then you have Taylor Swift, who has it built. Number one, if you listen to that episode, I was like, wow, because I'm a guy that plans about a week in advance. That's about as far as I get. You ask me what's going on in October, I got no clue right now. And at the end of her concert tour, the Eras tour or whatever it was called, and this is what's so freaky, is her fans watch every single detail because she's trained them to. And instead of going down a door or whatever it was, she walked out this ramp thing, and at the very end of it, it turned orange. And to me and you, we're like, yeah, okay.
It means something, yeah.
Right. Well, her new album, if you buy the vinyl, it's orange. So she leaves all these breadcrumbs and stuff. But just the fact that that was like months ago and she already had this planned, I was like, okay. And the fact that there are parts of her concert, because, you can't escape them on YouTube, where they pick a kid out of the concert, out of the, audience, and they put her at a specific spot on the stage. I don't know whose dad paid how much money for that, but at any rate, it looks very random that they pull this cute little, probably 8-year-old girl, and she's dressed in head to toe in Taylor stuff, and and she sits there, and Taylor does her thing, and her dancers and all that. And at one point, she comes down, gets down on her knees, gives this girl a hug, and of course, the little girl is like totally freaking out, and gives her some sort of friend bracelet or who knows what it is. So Taylor, of course, puts it on and then gives her hat. And it's this cool, and the whole, like, however, 40,000 people go, "Aw." And I was like, that woman is in the business of emotions. And I was like, I give you Exhibit A. And I'm going to dig into her a little more, because I've just seen so many examples of her going to hospitals and having people at her house, which is really spooky, because I know she has a whole team of security. So we've got one person who is trying to make personal connections with her audience, and other people that are trying to buy them. And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I wonder which ones, who's having the most popularity with that? I'm like, I think Miss Swift is winning in that category.
Well, right now, yeah. I mean, she's at the peak of her popularity for sure. The the thing I think important to remember, oftentimes we think, oh, if I just did my podcast or if I just did it like Jason and Travis do. Well, you know
Right.
what? They're Jason and Travis. And
Yeah.
they listen, they have experiences that are not yours. They have contacts that are not yours. There's going to be, I'm sure with New Heights popularity, there is going to be a whole host of podcasts. And listen, to be honest, Jason and Travis are not doing anything earth shattering. It's two guys, it's two bros, literally, two
Yeah.
bros talking about football. Who one of them happened to start dating,
Right.
Taylor Swift in the middle of this. They're living their life. And I think sometimes, it would also be easy to say in this situation, oh, because listen, I have a big belief that I think people follow healthy relationships. Like, people like to see other people in healthy relationships. And, you and I, we don't fight on the show. You and I, we have a good friendship. I think that's attractive to some people. Now, it'd be easy to say, well, every podcast should have healthy relationships. Well, I don't know if that's true either. Certainly all of the reality shows and all of the dysfunctional relationships, it attracts people too. Like those kinds of podcasts do just fine. I think the key in all of this, and what I loved about that podcast is all three of them were just being themselves. Like there was no, Taylor was Taylor, Travis was Travis. He sat there and looked pretty, as they say, as the Swifties say, they like to call him pretty. He's eye candy, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just so funny how that's flipped. And then Jason, of course, he's a pretty good interviewer and did his homework on that one as far as what to do. His intro for Travis or for Taylor was incredible. I mean, he yelled the whole thing. He yelled the whole thing, right? And she was just like, what? I mean, you could see the look on her face, like, wow, like he was ready for that. He would have been super easy to come in. Oh, everybody knows without introduction, everybody knows, well, yes, but he used that as an opportunity to really introduce her to that audience. And she knew, like at one point in the interview, it was like, I'm sure that your audience, talking with Travis and Jason, I'm sure your audience wants to hear a female come in here and dispense advice. Like she knew what she was on too, right? And so it was a very well done interview. That could have been a million times worse. You get celebrities or you get, right? It could have gone a million times worse. So I think they did a nice job. It was well done. The key to that is they were all themselves. They didn't try to act or be somebody they're not, right? They did their jobs.
And the only thing that, as somebody, I listened to the Heights once and they did like the whole, like, let's do 7 minutes of ads at the beginning. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. And the only thing I was like, ooh, I don't know what that was, but, and this is where you get the curse of knowledge, is she was saying how she handed her cat, and I'm assuming it's to one of Jason's kids, and she said their name, and the kid said, ooh, I have Ben, which I guess is a cat, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I was like, curse of knowledge there. But, and we learned a lot about sourdough that I was like, oh, okay. But those guys like to eat apparently. So,
Sourdough's not bad. Sourdough is not a bad bread. That's my favorite.
I'm bear with me, audio listeners, just to show you, this is the Hollywood Reporter site, and it's just nothing but ads and more ads. And like, I love when they put ads in the middle of the story. And then related to, I'm like, who's your marketing director? YouTube? Hey, here's 15 different ways to send you someplace else than the thing you came over to look at. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, I love when ads look like the site, right? They don't even make an attempt to make it look different. It's in the same font.
Oh,
it's in the middle of a paragraph, but you're reading it and you're like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't fit. Oh, it's an ad. And you're like, well, where's the content? Like, where'd the content go? And then lately I've been kind of coming to some sites and, big dramatic headline, and there's like one paragraph, and that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's it. It's crazy.
Like, where's the article? Like what's yeah, listen, it's out of control. I mean, right now everybody's, and we're spending a bunch of time thinking about how do you write for generative AI, right? Because they have different requirements than SEO did.
Yeah.
And so everybody's trying to game the system. Listen, I'm going to love it when ads enter the AI space. That's coming, right? I mean, this period of AI usage where most of it's free and for the most part, and you're getting all these awesome results and stuff. This gravy train will end at some point, friends. So just know they're going to sneak their way in, but the first thing that will happen is you're going to see some ads in AI.
Oh,
It'll be
dude, it's
interesting
already
to see
here.
how that goes. See how that goes.
Amazon has already announced that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. You're right.
Well, not Siri, but the other one. I don't want to say her name.
The A lady.
The A lady. Yeah, Lexi is going to start recommending. Hey, I see you're going out for a walk. If you say like, hey, what's her name? I'm leaving. Turn off the light. She might go, oh, going for a walk. You might want to try one of these new, Nike walking shoes. And I was like, oh, great. Because here's the thing. We're just switching from one thing to the next. Because right now, Google has a good page now. Like ranking number 1 on Google is really ranking number 1 on page 2. Because page 1 is nothing but ads. And so we're going to end up with AI, and you're going to pay to have your, site mentioned or whatever. Yeah. And it's going to be the same thing. It's like you're going to have AI becoming a kingmaker, and who paid the most money is who gets mentioned.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, they're going to follow the Google ad model, and OpenAI will probably replace Google, and then they'll dominate the space, and then they'll have, they're going to this cycle is going to repeat itself. So just be careful as you're thinking about some of the work that you're doing to take advantage of AI, and be careful not from like you're going to be harmed, maybe, but be careful from your expectations. The sponsored ads are coming, and it'll, like I said, it'll just be interesting to see how they implement them in what we do with them, because there's lots slicker ways to implement them with AI results as opposed to just purely search results. So that day is coming. Get prepared for it.
And sure. I've learned something. Jim, are you aware of the reader function? Chris from castahead.net says, I use the reader function whenever possible on websites. The whack-a-mole and process is maddening. I've never heard of the reader function. No. Do you know of this reader function? Is this like
I haven't either, but there's a variety of ways through the browsers or through plugins, or some antiviruses provide this for you. You can block all those ads. So it's not like the real dilemma is that as podcasters and content creators, we're in the monetization space in most cases. Now, if you're a pure podcaster and you don't do any ads at all, great. That's awesome. Happy for you. Super glad that you can self-fund your own podcast. But most podcasters have some kind of ad or in the ad space, right? We block those ads, right? We block their way of making income. So there's a dilemma. I get it.
Yeah. John Jamango, I love this. He said, I heard a dynamic ad interrupt a live read ad. He goes, I kid you not. We interrupt this ad for an ad. And that's where one of the things I'm going to try to find out at Podcast Movement, and I think I already know the answer, is that I go back to the days of banner ads. Banner ads, you could make a decent amount of money, which is in my latest YouTube video that has, by the way, talk about things I should have hired Mark for. My YouTube thumbnail on that is horrendous. But it's a case where back in the day, the banner ads, you could make a decent amount of money on banner ads because there weren't that many websites. Right. And then everybody got a website and the price of banner ads went down the toilet. And I'm like, hey, used to be you could make a decent amount of money with a podcast ad. And then everybody got the ability to insert dynamic ads. And from what all I know is Libsyn used to post the average price CPM for ads And then 3 months in a row, it went down just a tiny bit, but it was down. And then they stopped. And I was like, why? Well, that makes me, without any kind of announcement, your audience, which would be me, is going to go negative. In the same way that when the cable guy is supposed to show up between noon and 3 and it's 3:30, you instantly think they're dead or something, but you're not happy about that. So it'll be interesting. Let's see. Ralph says, by the way, I took your advice this week and did some public relations promotions and ended up winning an award and got a ton of publicity. Well, that's cool. Now, is this one of those where you won an award, or because there are awards you can just straight up buy? I know there are things. What was the one? The Webbies, because even the podcast awards, which, hey, for the record, for everyone who goes, oh, he's Dave Jackson, he gets to do everything. I kind of asked people on the School of Podcasting, and I'm like, hey, go over and vote for me, and let's see if we can get one of these other ones back here. And I didn't make the cut. So I was like, and then I went in and saw where I thought I had dynamically inserted it. Maybe I didn't, or again, 3% of your audience is probably going to do that. Or maybe people went, Dave, you have enough awards. Stop it. It's an addiction at this point. Who knows? But I know there are awards that you can just buy. Because I went to, there was one site I was looking at, and literally there were awards that were like best podcast with a host named Jim. Like, here's your award. And I was like, huh. And then it was like best sports podcast with, somebody named Jermango. And I was like, So, but yeah, it's great to get some PR. Congrats on the award, however you got it. And, that'll get you some exposure. And it's just a matter of, I always say, if the internet went down tomorrow, we would find creative ways to market our show. And when I have somebody goes, I've done everything. And I'm like, well, have you, do you have any business cards? No. Oh, okay. Well, then, or have you, reached out to no, if it's like, well, what have you done? Why post it on social? Okay. Well, that's a thing. You can do that. But I think sometimes, I'm as guilty as anybody. I do a show for the city of Akron. Every Friday, a sizable chunk of the Akron audience is in downtown Akron. And every Friday I go, I should go down there and hand out business cards. I got a box full of them. Have I done it? No, I have not. Have I done any kind of promotion on Friday when a big chunk of the city is in downtown Akron? No. But yet I don't know why my show isn't growing. Come on now, kids. It's time to get out of the chair. I know it's a comfy chair. You spend a lot of money on it, and it's cool, but, you got to get out there and do that. So
I think you and I might have the same chair. I don't know if I would, that's because mine's comfy too. I don't know if I'd be the card hander out or on city streets. That might be, in Vegas they do that, but it's not,
right.
So
it's for a different service. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure people.
Well, if nothing else, just, I have a shirt that says akronpodcast.com just to walk around down there and maybe record people to be on the show,
a sticker on your car that says that, not like maybe on the paint, but on the window, maybe a nice sticker that has that website on there might be a nice local advertisement. You could buy, I'd buy a billboard in town, just to be honest with you.
That would make sense.
That would be for a local podcast. If you can get, we've had a lot of these new video billboards go up here in town, and they rotate through, so you're not looking at the same thing all the time. Might be a nice option to get, especially local, right, to get that, to help get the word out.
There you go. Ralph says this was a nominated award. I figured as much. Not nice. A purchase award, but my PR team did the draft and the promotion for it. Well, there you go. That's cool. He won Best Christian Finance Podcast of 2025.
Nice.
Yeah. And then
that's
Chris Nessie
fortunate
says,
timing if you can do that in a week. That's pretty awesome. You can get it, submit it, and win it in a week.
Win it.
Nicely done. Yeah.
the reader mode, according to Chris Nessie, is a Chrome extension. There you go. And then John says he might lose no, if there's a Jamango award, buddy, you're at the top of the list. Yeah, Chris says, get out of the chair. Stickers with QR codes. There we go.
Yeah.
Just go around and
don't guerrilla stickers though. Don't go around putting them on polls and posts, and you'll get a call. We had some local, for a lot of years we have this race called Market to Market, and it goes from the old market in downtown Omaha to the Haymarket in Lincoln. It's an all-day event, and you put together these teams, and it's a relay race from one place to the other. And we had a team with the folks that I work with called Run Jovi, and they got so popular they had stickers they started giving out. It showed along the course they would be handing out stickers and stuff, and they and other people started putting these stickers all over the place. And then, of course, the Lincoln police came to them and said, could you please not hand out stickers or instruct your fans not to stick these all over the place? Because they were super branded. Like, you knew exactly who it was, right?
Well,
so be careful.
Yeah. A QR code, maybe, but when you put a QR code and the website, they kind of know who's responsible.
Yeah, that stuff may start showing up. Guerrilla, that's guerrilla marketing, right? Just be ready for the backside of that if it gets posted somewhere it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and then the whole I didn't tell them to do that kind of that you're going to lose that argument eventually. Maybe. Or at least ask you, because I know back in the day when Howard Stern was more of a shock jock, he if somebody said something bad or whatever, he would just release the Kraken, and you would finally have, I think it was Kathy Lee Gifford, was like, hey, can you kind of I'm out for dinner with my family and people are screaming Baba Booey at me. Like, can you please, kind of any chance you can call off the hounds? So keep that in mind. Yes. Well, here's a fun question that I talk about a fair amount on my show on occasion. But somebody asked, Soft Simon 4158. Yeah. On Reddit said, I'm writing a book about a podcaster and am consider running the podcast that she is running. And am considering running the podcast that she is running. Okay. I need her to be on a podcast themed cruise ship. I found that Virgin is running one. What do you think the deal would be between the cruise line and the podcaster? I just heard somebody talk about this on a show. You get $50 per person that buys a cruise ticket. Depending on or you get 10%. And sometimes cruise tickets are $5,000, so that'd be $500. What kind of things have companies given you as a podcaster? Jim, do you got any fun things that have happened?
All right, right here. It's funny that you ask. So I just got sent this Lutron outdoor smart plug switch, and actually I run my shed out in the back off the house power, so I run a cord out to it, and it's kind of handy to be able to turn things on and off. They contacted me and said, hey, would you test out our outdoor plug? I said, sure, send it. So listen, I've had other things, but this was literally sitting on the floor right here. And I haven't talked about it yet. I need to get it on my show here at some point, but yeah, I've had this cool little product.
The Electro Voice RE320 was given to me on a trial, and then I went to ship it back, and they went, hey, if you talk about it on your show for a month, we'll let you keep it. So that wasn't really free, but I got that. A job or two or three has happened from the show, just from building your reputation. So let's see what else. I've
been sent plugs to test. I got a power charger one time to test. I got this cool Bluetooth keyboard. It was a mini Bluetooth keyboard to try out. So yeah, those are some that can be helpful.
I've had private demos, and you have to be careful with that one, because on one hand you want to see the toys, but on the other hand, when they want to pick your brain on whether or not that's a good thing, that's called consulting, boys and girls, and you get paid for that. Now, if you want to get paid in free software, that's fine, but there are times when people are like, I want to get your opinion on this. Well, they want to get your opinion because, whether you want to admit it or not, you're kind of an influencer, and they hope you then talk about it. And that's one of the things I'm going to be interested to see if we dip our toe just back in a second about emotions. I watched Stick on Apple TV with Mark Maron, and it has a definite Ted Lasso kind of flavor to it, to where when you get done, you're just like, oh, that was nice. That was fun. Wasn't that cute? Kind of almost not quite as sugary as a Hallmark movie, but it definitely had you feeling good and you were ready to see the next thing. And where was I going with that? How you feel? Stick.
Emotion.
Oh, and Mark Maron is stopping his podcast. My question is going to be, how many more speaking gigs is Mark going to get? Because in this one, Mark plays a middle-aged white guy who's kind of cranky, and I'm like, way to stretch your acting skills, Mark, because he's kind of a middle-aged guy that's cranky. And I was like, if he doesn't have, this huge audience to talk about how I'm doing a show on Apple TV with Owen Wilson, is he going to get the speaking gigs? That will be an interesting thing, because in the same way, he's had a lot of acting gigs, and he talks about them on his show. It'll be like, I'll be interested to see. So
I would think he has something already lined up. Like, you don't give up that gig,
yeah,
unless there's somebody's like, okay, we got a big thing we want you to do, but we want you to stop podcasting.
Well,
right?
let me.
And so I bet there's something he hasn't announced yet, or something along those lines. I mean, or, Mark's been doing this a long time and he's just tired of it. He's like, I said everything I'm going to say.
Well,
you and I have been doing this a decade. We've said the same things for 10 years. At some point we'll be like, I think we're done.
Here is a slide
possible too.
From my presentation at Podcast Movement, where I'm talking about different ways you can monetize. And Mark was selling his back catalog. He would have the last 50 episodes were free, and after that, it was $5 a month. And so I asked Rob Walsh, I go, because I've heard Rob say this stat before. I'm like, how many he had? You want to guess how many people he had subscribed for $5 a month?
1,500.
That is a good guess, but I'm sorry, you've underbid.
Oh, 3,000.
Nope, keep going.
10,000.
Keep going.
25,000.
Yeah, it was 43,000 people giving him $5 a month. That's probably why he's retiring. He's like, you know what? I got, he's got some money in the bank. He's got a bit of a thing. So yeah, $215,000 a month for that. So, and here's the fun thing. I need to double check. I know I'm speaking Tuesday at Podcast Movement, and so is this guy named Adam Curry. And I'm not positive, but I have a bad feeling that I am up against the Podfather, which means I'll be talking to 4 people.
You should advertise you're going to be talking trash about him, just to see.
That's it.
You can pull some people over.
Yeah. Back to the reader function. Chris says, on iOS devices, select the icon next to the URL on Safari. On desktop Mac, you can even hide the distracted items and select ads. Clear reading. RSS feeds are also good to avoid ads. Very good. I'll have to check into this, because I've saw many bad websites this week that I was just like, oh, holy cow, what are you doing? Here's another question from Ralph. He says, as a podcaster, I often wrestle with whether I should use a full script for polish and precision, or stick with the bullet points for a more natural conversation flow. What are your thoughts? Bullet points for the win. I don't know that many people that can read a script. I don't know. Yeah. Jim?
Well, unless you suck at bullet points, and then you should read a script. Like it's what you're best at. Bring your best game all the time. Listen, there are moments when scripts are appropriate, and I always memorize scripts for openings and intros and outros, just so that they are crisp and clean and no caffeine. And so we want to get those in there. We want to get them done well. We want them well practiced. If you can do the content on bullets and it's natural and your audience likes it, awesome. Listen, Paul Harvey, who is one of the most influential radio guys, read a script every week. That he was, hello Americans, good day, right? That's not him. He's not vamping. he had a script for every single thing that he did.
And
Right.
his script was amazing though, because it had a hook.
Yeah.
It had a lot of you going, I wonder who he's talking about. And so your brain's going, wait, is this Michael Jordan? Is he talking about? Oh, and then so he's really the whole thing hooked
The
you
rest
in.
of the story. Yeah, he would when he would do, because he had a news, he covered
Yeah.
news, and then he had one called The Rest of the Story.
Right.
He was a podcaster before podcasters. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about, I mean, his content would do well today, but he scripted it. So if you can do a scripted style that people like, go script. If that's your best
Yeah.
game. If bullets are your best game, if you're conversational, or there are some folks who just prepare enough that they don't have anything in front of them, and they just do.
Here's
That works
something
too.
else to do, because I think Ralph has said this on the show. I'm not giving away, trade secrets, but Ralph is too passionate about accounting and whatever else he's talking about to where he starts to go up here, and this is really what you need to do, and then he never comes back down. And so I was thinking about you last night, Ralph. I was walking around and I was like, the advice I need to give Ralph is this is an army thing maybe, but it's something like 4 for 4. And what it is you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. And the idea is, if I'm having a hard time falling asleep, I will do that and make it through about 2 of those before, and it's a relaxing thing. So you might try just good old-fashioned breathing. I thought that was hooey. I had severe test anxiety when I was in college and actually trying to get good grades. And one of the things that would always help, and I always thought it was just malarkey, to quote my grandma, was breathe. Because what happens is when we get excited, we rob our brain of oxygen, and this is when it really needs it. And so just kind of calm down a bit, maybe, would be part of that. But, and I always say bullet points because that's what I do. And if you do write a script, when you write the script, not ChatGPT, when you write the script, write it the way you talk. And so throw out punctuation, throw out grammar rules. Just if I was saying it was this, and then do that, and then just, and also read it slower than you think. Not super slow, but slower than you think, because when we're talking, like right now, my brain is processing what word to come out of my mouth next. And so occasionally there are pauses because I have to figure it out, where when you're reading a script, even if you're sounding like this and it sounds like I'm talking kind of to you, but not at you, and there's nothing else, I can just talk forever because I've got the next word right in front of me. And it just like, no, occasionally breathe. And then when in doubt, practice, practice, practice. I talk to myself a lot. I will, there are times when I'm just weird and I will remember an old Pepperidge Farm commercial. Do you remember those, Jim? Because Pepperidge Farm remembers, right? That's it. And I would just be in the kitchen making bacon and eggs, and I'd be like, today we're using the red spatula. I like this red spatula, even though it's got a dent on the side. I don't know how. And I will just improv a weird commercial about the red spatula that I'm making my egg with because I'm a little weird. But it's the art of getting words to come out of my mouth in a way that I want them to come out. And so, when you're feeding the cows out there, Ralph, or riding your new motorcycle or whatever you're doing, practice. It really, how do you get better at anything? Practice. So it just, it takes time. Yesterday we were talking about this at the School of Podcasting, and I said, I know how to read music, but I am awful at it. It takes me forever. But if I every day sat down and started to read music, I could look at it. Now I kind of go, let's see, all cars eat gas. So that's an A. And then I do that. And basically what I do is I will do it until I get the notes, and then I hear it, and then I learn by ear. And so I'm like, oh, I know what this is now. I've heard it once. So we all have our own ways of doing that. Tanner says, I'm starting to wonder if apps are going to pop up with a Kindle Unlimited type of service. Ad-free content for all the podcasts on the platform and pay creators a royalty per download monthly. It's definitely a thing. I remember Kevin Smith, the guy that did Clerks and all that, and his show, and Jay Moore for that fact. It's the YouTube model. It's I'm going to play so many ads that either A, you will leave me or you will pay me. And I've seen that model, and in the Kevin Smith model for me, it didn't work. In the model with Jay Moore, it didn't work. In the model of YouTube, I was like, fine, take my money. I cannot, because it's just every 10 seconds they were interrupting for an ad. So YouTube got me, but it's one of those things. John Jamango says, I need to know, where did you get that pop filter for the RE320? That was at, yep, not B&H. They used to be a very popular site for audio, and they're at podcast. BSW has one, I believe. I was like, come on, brain. So yeah, it's a 309A, Daniel says. Actually don't like that shock mount because it's so big. Yeah. So am I on the expert stage? No, I think I am talking in the, where the vendors are. I'm also, are you ready for this? How fun is this? Thursday, I am now on a panel with the one and only Jeff C. And when you think it can't get any better, and I'm going to feel bad because there's one other person, I can't remember her name, but I know Jeff, and I'm also going to be on a panel with Lou Mangello. How cool is that? I mean, come on, the king of Disney. That's going to be fun. And then another lovely woman who I will get to make a new friend, because I don't know who, when I saw her name, I didn't recognize her, but that just means I'm going to get a new friend. And so speaking of that, first of all, some of my favorite friends are these people, and that is our awesome supporters over at askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome, where we like to remind you that this show is brought to you by theschoolofpodcasting.com, where you get unlimited coaching, you get step-by-step courses, and an amazing community. I just was saying how Ralph is in that community. We were talking yesterday and helping him out, and Jim is a new guy that does real estate, and he's helping seniors, all sorts of fun people over there. Use the coupon code COACH, and a coach that comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you go to Ask the Podcast Coach, that is Podpage. And you can try Podpage by going to trypodpage.com, because it's just going to save you time and headaches. Quit squeezing a podcast into a yoga studio theme on Squarespace and get yourself a Podpage. If you want to see Podpage, go to theaverageguy.tv. That's where my buddy Jim Collison hangs out. And if you need more Jim Collison, check him out, theaverageguy.tv, and his show, Home Gadget Geeks. And we're not going to talk about that one again. And it's time for the featured. That's one of the things I'm doing when I come back from Podcast Movement, is I want to play more with vidIQ. But I know people that love it, but I haven't played with it enough. And I'm like, well, I feel bad if I would go get vidIQ and then find out it really stinks. So the Wheel of Names, these are people that are supporting us in the form of $20 a month. And we appreciate that, like Jody Kringle, and there's Ralph and Ross Brand and Shane Whaley, who I will see at CEX in Cleveland coming up. And so who is going to be the winner? I know last week, Ralph got over 700 mentions because you get stuck to the front of our show. And it's going to be our buddy John Muntz. You can find him at johnmuntz.com. He's been a longtime supporter. So, and Muntz is MUNTZ. So thank you so much for your support, John. I deeply appreciate it. And again, if you'd like to be an awesome supporter, it's super simple. You could join this awesome list of people if you're watching the YouTube. People like Matt Talk Online and ShootingStraightPodcast.com and Sonic Cupcake. And, there's always, since he's in the chat room, AskRalph.com. All sorts of fun people. Aviation News Talk. All you have to do is go over to AskThePodcastCoach.com/awesome. And you might ask yourself, hey, are Dave and Jim, are we saving you time? Are we saving you money? Are we saving you headaches? Are we keeping you educated, or maybe even helping you avoid mistakes? Well, then go over to AskThePodcastCoach.com/awesome. And I was listening to Mel Robbins last night. She has a book called The Let Them Theory, which is interesting because from what I hear, this was not her theory. This was somebody else had this idea, and she was like, oh, that's a really good theory, and then wrote a book about it, which is kind of it's not plagiarism exactly, but it's like, I've heard people go, yeah, that's not her thing. And I'm like, well, that's weird. But one of her things was the fact that we're all lonely. Like the people are marrying their chat bots now and all sorts of crazy thing. I just heard where Grok, the thing from Elon and Twitter, that it has come out that his AI assistant, and that's what they're calling these, can get a little sexy if you want it. And I was like, well, that's kind of like you can ask it to moan or, and I was just like, that's a little, okay. And so people are getting really attached to their AI tools. And so consequently, the epidemic of loneliness is having some really weird symptoms. And she said, basically, just make yourself be the first. Let me be the first to introduce myself. I'm Dave. So when I go to Podcast Movement, I'm going to forget that I'm still occasionally shy and just get out there and make some new friends because, podcasts lead to relationships, relationships lead to opportunities. Well, I have the opportunity to go to Podcast Movement. I should probably make some relationships there because I'm really starting to notice, I heard this at an event, is you're known for what you're known for. So like Jim is Mr. Home Gadget Geek. So if I want to know about robot lawnmowers, I'm going to Jim. If I want to know about home automation, I'm going to Jim. And so what do you want to be known for? Make your show about that. And then just introduce yourself to people. And it's awkward and it's weird. And she's like, but she was saying how, and she did this when she was 54. She said, we moved to a completely different city. They were in Boston. They moved to the middle of nowhere and she didn't know anybody. And she said, and I was lonely. And she said, I met this one person one day out walking. And she said, then I was walking with my daughters and saying, this is so weird. I don't have any friends here. And her daughters forced her to go up to that woman's house and knock on the door. And she wasn't home, but her husband was and brought her in and gave her a tour of the house and just kind of welcomed her to the neighborhood. And she goes, and that person led me to other people. And she goes, now I have a group of friends. She goes, but it took my daughters to, basically push their mother of 54 up to a door and knock on it. And she's like, so I thought about that. I was walking around last night. I was like, yeah, when I'm at Podcast Movement, I am very guilty of looking for Harry Duran and, all the people I know, because it is like summer camp and it's great to get caught up with people, but I also need to just start introducing myself to people. I remember I was with Corey from Libsyn and we're at Podfest and we walked into the last big thing at the end of the night, right? And it's, you got the oomps, oomps, oomps going. And I looked around and I said, this is so weird. And she goes, what? I said, I used to know everybody when I would walk into a room like this. I said, aside from you, I don't know anybody because they were all a lot younger than me. And she said, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I go, well, I got to go make some new friends. And I just started walking around to people and going, what brings you to the show? So, it's awkward and weird, but if you're going to any events, because we got Podcast Movement coming up, we've got the Empowered Podcasting Summit in North Carolina coming up, like introduce yourself to people. Jim, do you have a problem doing that?
No, I don't, but it's a great reminder. So with the job that I do for Gallup, our podcasts in our community get a lot of listens, right? And so it's kind of nice. But when I go to speak, we have these coaching classes and I do these 15-minute drop-ins on there. And the instructors of these courses, they all know me. And so they introduce me like, oh, here's Jim's famous and you're, I'm sure you've heard. So I don't start by thinking everybody knows who I am. So I say, let me just start over. My name's Jim Collison. I'm Gallup's Clifton Strengths Community Manager. It's my job to take care of you post GGSC, to set those expectations. Then I say, how many have never seen me on a podcast before that we've done? In almost every class, half have not, or more, have not ever seen me. So you can't assume in those kinds of situations, like, oh, well, of course people would know who I am. I think, well, to go for full circle back to Taylor Swift, she introduces herself to people still. People she doesn't know, she'll come up to, she's like, hi, I'm Taylor. And, and So I think it's really, really important in those situations, like you're saying at the conferences or whatever, that we come at it, never assume they know who you are, right? And come in, introduce yourself. This is what I do. And they may, and of course, sometimes I do that and they laugh at me. They're like, of course I know who you are. Like, I listen to you every week. I'm like,
Right.
oh, that's great. Thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate it. You know, it's an honor. You get to see me, but I never get to see you. So it's great to meet you. I always try to make them the big deal in the conversation and shift that away from, yeah, you know, we got a lot of podcasts out there, but it's about them at that moment. And I think those are the most memorable conversations for people, is when you switch it, and that person, even though they've got a lot to say, or they've been very, very successful, when they take an interest in you, that makes you feel super special. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes we have to stop talking about us and ask them some questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I share my screen here, and you can see that. This is another slide that I'm going to talk about at Podcast Movement, and the fact that you don't monetize a podcast, because I have a picture of me in my office, an old office many, many moons ago, because I see the old School of Podcasting logo on my computer there. You monetize an audience. And so I did exactly what you did. And that is, this is me, I think, at Podcast Movement again. And I said, if you don't know who I am, if you've never seen me speak, I'm not worried about it. I got extra skin. Please raise your hand. And I'm going to say about half the room is going, I don't know who you are. And I love the fact I got people standing in the back with their hands up. And I always say that's how you grow your audience. You get your show in front of people who should be watching but aren't. And
I love that picture has Rob Greenlee in the front row.
yes,
That's awesome.
And Paul Culligan. So
yeah.
So it's one of those things where you just got to get out of your shell, get out of your chair, get out of your shell, maybe I'll go to downtown Akron tonight and put up some stickers. I don't know. Maybe not.
Don't put stickers on. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't stick them in the
bathrooms.
bathrooms.
You as a friend.
Yeah.
Don't put them in the bathrooms. No, it's not appropriate.
Yeah. Tanner has a question. Are there any stats on how effective storefront is on Podpage? I just started under the feature and would love some info on maximizing that feature to our merch and other products. Podpage does not have any statistics, period. But like we always do, we integrate with the best ones. So you can integrate with Google Analytics. You could, I love Fathom. If you go to supportthisshow.com/Fathom, just FATHOM. And the reason I like that is because it's so simple. Google Analytics will let you know what your visitor ate for lunch last Tuesday on a full moon, right? It's insane number of statistics. I just need to know how many people and where did they come from. But yeah, and in terms of effectiveness, that's where you could, I use a tool all the time called Switchy. If you go to supportthisshow.com/Switchy, and Switchy is SWITCHY, that's a one-time fee, and anything you want to track, you can make it's basically a link shortener. So if you're linking to your show or your book on Amazon, you could make that link a trackable link. I have a QR code on my business card from Switchy, and I can see, like I looked last night, and from my last presentation, I had 8 people point their phone at the screen because I have a slide that says questions, and then there's a QR code, and 8 people use that QR code. So if you want to track something, I love Switchy. I found it's one of the few things on AppSumo that I'm like, oh, this was a game changer. So again, supportthisshow.com/Switchy is where you can find that. Jim, a question for you. Chris wants to know, you don't pull the, don't you know who I am?
Well, sometimes I do. Like, are you kidding me? Don't you know who I am? No, I try not to. I try not to. My friends do this crazy thing. They love, like, when we get around our audience and they know, like, they see this coming, someone who will recognize me from the podcast and they'll come up. They think it's so much fun to then pile on, they'll start piling on the, oh, you're so famous kind of thing,
right.
Settle down, friends, settle down. Like, we're just all humans here. Let's just not get crazy. But it's my friends who like to work that piece when we're out in public. They're all my coworkers. During the day, I'm just Jim with them, right? And then
Right.
we do some of these events, and they think it's hilarious that this happens. So they make a much bigger a deal of it than I think I ever would.
I mean, total back in the day, Nick Suberling, the guy, I can see him with his glasses that did the White Sox Ivy Envy show. Man, I can't remember his name. And John Domingo used to do, I think it was called Podcast Therapy. And we would just get together, and just hang out. And I remember John said something I always thought was so funny. He said, "You know what's funny about you, Dave?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "You don't know you're Dave Jackson." And I go, I have no idea what that means. And it's always weird when I hear people go, "Oh, I was going to say hi to you. I rode down an elevator with you, but I felt too nervous." And I'm like, "What? Is there something about me that seems
meeting people,
intimidating?"
right? It's meeting people. Dave, I think the most important thing is, we're speaking to podcasters here, for me anyways, I think the most important thing is when someone's had the courage to come up to you and thank you, don't dismiss them.
No.
It's nothing. Listen, I know for some of you it's terribly uncomfortable. I get it, right? By the way, it's terribly uncomfortable for all of us for the most part. But don't dismiss them. Look, they took a lot of courage to get to you and say the words they're going to say. Say thank you. I appreciate you listening. How can I help you? Let them do most of the talking. Don't feel like you have to start dispensing advice. Just let them talk. Let them be. They're having a moment. And you have to understand, this is your breathing technique. Like, when this happens, you may start having yourself some anxiety. Start practicing your breathing while they're talking. Let them talk. It took a lot. And be sure to thank them. Like, just make sure that you understand, hey, I really appreciate that you listen.
And here's something else. And this sounds weird because you know that I'm just a dude and you're just a dude. Ask them if they want to take a selfie. Because I've had people tell me, I was going to ask, but I was afraid to. And I'm like, it's a selfie. Like, I have, what's the correct word for Indian? I have Native American blood in me, but I do not think you're going to steal my soul. Because isn't that an old wives' tale that Native American people thought?
Dave, let's just keep going.
Let's just keep going, shall we? Yes. And meanwhile, the other thing is, and because I am awful, I'm much better at that than I used to. I remember when I was married, and my ex-wife was with me at an event, and somebody came up, and at the end they're like, "And you're funny," and I go, "Well, looks aren't everything." And the person walked away, and she goes, "You are horrible at accepting compliments." She goes, "You just bat them away." Yeah. She goes, "They said really nice things to you." And what's funny is I was at a book signing, and somebody came up and said, "Are you Dave Jackson?" And I go, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, glad to help." And she literally was like, "No, you don't like." And it was a great practice. I think I've told the story before, but 3 times she was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, well, that makes me feel really good. Thank you so much." Usually what I say is, "Thank you so much for listening. Why do you like my show?" And then find out, I'm like, "Is there anything you'd want me to change?" And on occasion, somebody will actually answer that question. But
that's just engage. Stop what you're doing, put things down, and really look them in the eye and say thank you.
Yeah.
And let them say some things, because they've been.
That's it. Get them
they're
talking.
having a moment. Yeah. You stop. Let them talk.
Yeah. Chris says, "I remember meeting Dave and Daniel back in 2015 at Podcast Movement. One of the most pod memorial times of my life." There you go. Chris says, "Great advice, Jim. Let them talk." And that's usually what I will do is like, "Oh, do you have a podcast?" And if they say, "Yeah," I'm like, "Well, tell me about it." Whatever, that whole 9 yards. But it's
a great question.
Here's my biggest, as somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi," in my brain, I'm like, look at them. Look at them. Do not look behind them. Do not. I know you're ADHD and you're dying to know what else is going on, but give them, if for the love of God, Dave, would you focus for 10? Can you give us 10 seconds, Dave? Just because I will do that. And I hate that. I'll be talking to them and all of a sudden I'll see Lou Mangello walked back there, and I'm like, okay, just ignore Lou. You can see him later. Ignore Lou. And it's like, it drives me nuts. That's where I'm like, can I not be ADHD for like 15 seconds? Because I can only imagine how that feels. Like, hey, I'm meeting somebody, and they're just looking behind me, and I'm like, no, don't do that. That's my biggest fear. As soon as somebody comes up and says, hey, it's great to meet you, and I'm like, focus. Like, do not. That would just because
when they walk away and they're like, that guy was a jerk.
That was the guy.
Like,
that's it.
Oh my gosh, that guy was a jerk.
I've always heard, don't meet your heroes, and I'm like, yeah, I just totally blew that. So I do not want to do that at all. So let's see. Here's a oldie but a goodie, especially if you're starting a podcast. This was over in the Buzzsprout group, which, by the way, I got to talk about, bucket list stuff. I got to be on the Buzzcast, and it was really, really cool. I got to be Kevin for a day. But I'm the co-host of Booked on Planning. Did we talk about this last week?
We did.
I was gonna like, wait.
You quizzed me.
I was like, wait a minute. Like, that's looking. What else do we got here? Weird guerrilla marketing. We all start somewhere, and hitting those first 100 downloads is huge. Let's hear your most creative, desperate. I like that. Or shocking statistics. Shocking tactics that got you to that milestone. Was it from constantly bugging family, staking your podcast onto friends' phones, printing flyers? I feel like we talked about this last week too, did we? Sticking code stickers on bus stops. Yeah, I need to unpin these. Great show prep, Dave. Speaking of going back to Taylor Swift, maybe plan next week's episode a little better. Holy cow!
Sometimes, we could wrap it if you want. It is.
We got 8 minutes.
I have a student here, so
that's good. Well, it'd
be good.
You know what? When you're out of stuff, don't waste their time, and hit it and quit it. In the immortal words of James Brown. So excellent. Well, Jim, what's coming? Hey, what's coming up on? This kind of has a James Brown feel to it, podcast, yeah. Hey. All right. What's coming up on the AverageGuy.tv?
I don't know how you have any throat left after doing James Brown.
I could not.
You're really good at that. Yeah, you're really good at it. I am not. I am not good at it. Oh, I mentioned we have a student from Japan here this weekend, and so I took the week off because I wanted to spend as much time as I could with them. It's good sometimes to take some time off. Let me just remind you, you don't have to do your podcast every week, but we have plenty of episodes out there. HomeGadgetGeeks.com/follow,
and you can follow the show and go cherry pick your episodes because that's on Podpage, right?
That is HomeGadgetGeeks.com is a Podpage, yes.
There you go. Excellent. And what did you learn from the exchange student in 10 seconds or less?
The translators are getting better every year. Like, we are just using translators for, the Microsoft Translator or Google Translate. They are really good. So it's even better than last year. So it's
nice.
You can go anywhere and use those things. They're great.
On the School of Podcasting, I got smart. I have an interview in the can with David Hooper, and who is now working at Sirius Satellite Radio. So I was like, wait, how did you get a gig in radio? And what's the difference between radio and podcasting? And what are you learning? And what can you share? And there's a lot of similarities there. So that will be at schoolofpodcasting.com. And I'm slowly working on episode 1000, which is going to be right around the corner. So if you're at Podcast Movement, please stop by the Podpage booth and say hi. And we will see you in 2 weeks because I'm not here. No, I will be here next week. Yes, I think.
We're on?
We're on next week, right?
Okay.
Yes, we are. I'll be back Friday night. Friday night.
All right.
We'll see you next week.